I got a hold of the all-22 for the Philadelphia Eagles last 2 games. And so just want to point out some things along the way that we need to be concerned about. General, I told you earlier, I think they're going to turn this thing into a vertical game. I think they're going to test your safeties. I really do. I think when you watch the 49ers and how the 49ers were playing in some cover 2 stuff, they were playing some single high, but what they did was the Eagles took some shots down the field to test and see if the 49ers safeties can handle what was going on. I'm going to guarantee that they are not going to throw the ball in front of your safeties I think that they are going to say, you do not have the foot speed or the quickness at your safety spot to handle Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith, or this Kez Watkins running vertical on you. And so I would be very, very mindful of the depth of the safeties for the Cowboys this week. Because, and you have a couple of corners that, well, okay, Brown can run. Brown has really good time speed, but we've seen separation with Brown. We saw separation in the Tampa game with Brown. You know, you could have great time speed, but your play speed is not 4.29 or 4.28 or whatever it is. So keep an eye on that when going into this game, okay, with the wide receivers.
You know, I feel like that's what teams that struggle kind of have to do. We can't. So we're going to take shots down the field.
Right.
And if a couple come down and all of a sudden we have 17 points on the board at halftime, now we're in this game. But, you know, if a team's going to attack you and that's the best thing they got, if it's Deshaun Jackson in his prime and Tyreek Hill, I'm terrified. But if it's players that haven't really proven themselves, I'm like, okay, you're going to throw it up a half dozen times and maybe you catch one of them.
I think where they're going to try to get you guys is where can they draw a flag? Do you not connect?
Right.
Do you not connect? But do we have a 58-yard penalty because Diggs loses side of the ball, Brown loses side of the ball, a safety runs into a guy coming across? You know, sometimes those shots aren't all about completing the ball. It's about drawing a flag too. And if you get officials that call it the way that these officials tend to call it, then I would be a little concerned. But just keep an eye on that one as we get ready for this game. Okay, I'm looking at their offensive line right now, and you know they lost Brooks, their guard. He was injured in the game against the Brandon Brooks was injured in the game against the 49ers, and so what's going to happen is they in the lineup they put in their 2nd round pick from Alabama, Landon Dickerson, who is a center by trade. This is the first time, though, in this game that Landon Dickerson got to play all year. He was not in part of training camp. He just started practicing. He was dealing with an injury. So this was really his first live action. But they plugged him in at guard, and he struggled a little bit at that spot. Now, we'll see with the weeks of practice, being ready, being prepped. We'll see if Landon Dickerson can hold up. But there was some leakage playing with him at that guard spot for Brandon Brooks. Keep an eye.
Big loss.
Yeah, keep an eye on that spot. Okay.
Is he really about as good as Zach Martin? Is he that good of a guard?
He's not. He's not as athletic. He's just as strong though. He's a powerful type of guy. When you try and run over him, you can't run over him.
Am I too cocky thinking Cowboys got this? Eagles ain't going to play with the Cowboys Monday night.
You know what? When we get over on the defensive side of the ball, I think there'll be something a little bit different. The problem you're going to run into in this game is that, in my opinion, it could be very similar to what we saw with the Tampa defense. You know, and I just want to point out one more guy on the offense, if I could. Jordan Myelata. He's the Australian. He's the rugby player who's the starting left tackle. Jordan Myelata is the starting left tackle. He's number 68 for the Eagles. He is a soft for a rugby player. He's soft in the way he sets. So Randy could take him to some depth. I think this is where Gregory. Where you could get some push on this guy.
Tear him up.
He doesn't look as comfortable taking on guys that have quickness and have some pass rush moves. He's just not skilled enough for a left tackle to be that guy, but I think Randy could kind of run him back into the pocket, into Hurts. So keep an eye on that right now with Myelata number 68. I like the matchup over on that side with their Miles Sanders, quality running back. Okay, they've got another running back, a guy named Kenneth Gainwell, who they kept. He's number 14. They use him when they do the RPO stuff, the run pass option stuff. They bring him in the game, and you don't see Hurts run. Now, Hurts will run when he feels pressure, but he wants to stay in the pocket and throw. But when he sees man coverage and everybody has their back turned, running away, if he feels pressure, he's going to go out the gate and run.
Do they roll that pocket anywhere left or right?
They did not. I mean, everything about him in these games I was watching was him standing there and trying to make throws. Now, they'll use the tight ends and stuff and movement and stuff. But Hurts is not one of those guys. I don't think he wants to run. I think he wants to throw this football first. But when Gainwell's in the game, number 14, they use him as the RPO guy, and they take Miles Sanders off the field, which I think is a mistake. I think Miles Sanders is a really good back. Okay, on the defensive side of the ball here, real quick, the defensive tackles, Fletcher Cox and this Javon Hargrave.
Still
90,
good there, aren't they?
91, 97. Okay. One of them, like Cox, will play the one technique, that inside shoulder, and then Hargrave will play the 3 technique on the outside shoulder, and then they'll switch. So you're either going to see him playing 1 or 3, but they're both inside players. That is going to be a big, big problem for the Cowboys, much like what happened in the Tampa game. That inside presence right there. You have got to make sure that Hargrave is blocked. I think Fletcher Cox is a guy you can handle more one-on-one, but the matchups are going to be the problem with Hargrave and him. I wonder if they're going to try their best to put him over on Connor Williams. Even though Connor Williams is playing a lot better, I think that's something you need to keep an eye on because, man, he was hard to block for the 49ers the other day. They lost their defensive end Graham in this game. So Ryan Kerrigan is in the games now. The defensive end with Josh Sweat, the backup. Where you got to take advantage of the Eagles is on there when they get to their backups. They'll put their backups in. They'll put Sweat in, Milton Williams, Ridgeway. They'll put these guys in, and then they're like, teams tend to move the ball. I mean, they were moving the ball on those guys. So when those guys are in the game, the backups are who you want to take the advantage of. These guys do a great job of getting the starters, do a great job of getting off the ball. The corners are Steven Nelson and Darius Slay. It looked like to me that people were attacking Nelson. I think the mistake that the 49ers made in this game was that they tried to throw too many screen passes. They just weren't organized. I like the idea of letting them rush, letting them come upfield, try and trap them that way. But the 49ers just couldn't get it off, and they kept trying. Wide receiver screens, tight end screens, back screens. Just couldn't get it done. I wonder if the Cowboys are going to do the same thing after watching the 49ers and how the Eagles were able to snuff that out. I think that was going to be a pretty hard thing. But, this to me it's going for the defense, for the Cowboys offensively. It's going to be about handling those 2 inside guys, especially Javon Hargrave, number 97.
You like our matchups on the outside though with their corners with Cooper
I do.
and Lamb?
I do. Yeah. I do. I think the guy I would attack would be Nelson. I absolutely would be that. That's a guy I would go at.